Hello. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Karshit Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now I would request Maharaji to light the candle and begin today's session.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Sangachadhvam Samvardadhvam Sambho Manahan Sijanatam Deva Bhave Yatha Purve Sanjanana Vupasade Samano Mantras Samitis Samani Samanam Manasah Chittame Esham Samanam mantrayev samane navo avisha ajohome samani va akutis samana hridayaniva samanamastu vo mano yatha avastu sahasaye Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.
Now I would request Professor Bhattacharya, Professor Ranjan and Professor Tripathi to felicitate our guests. Thank you. So today we are honored to have Swami Vedarthananda Ji Maharaj with us, who is the Acharya at Probationers Training Center, Belur Mutt, Ramakrishna Mission. And we are also fortunate to have Swami Atma Shraddhananda Ji Maharaj with us, the Secretary at Ramakrishna Mission Ashram Kanpur, and the spiritual mentor of our Samiti. First, I would request Swami Atma Shraddhananda Ji Maharaj to share a few words with us.
Namaste to everyone here. We have all gathered here to be listening to a talk on introduction to Hindu scriptures. This is jointly organized by the Vivekananda Samiti and also the Ramakrishna Mission at Kanpur, which has completed its 100 years. Actually, we are in the 104th year. Because of the corona or lockdown period, we could not hold it at that time, the centenary celebrations. But now we are fortunate since November last year, we have started an year-long celebrations. So as part of that, as part of the outreach, we thought we'll have this lecture. For a long time, I have been requesting Swami Vedarthananda to please come to Kanpur and address the students. For various reasons, for last, I think, 2 years, we could not do it. Now we are here, we listen to him. The subject that we have chosen is very important because many people, they have heard bits and pieces of information. They think scriptures may be Ramcharitmanas, maybe Vedas, maybe Puranas, or maybe something else, which I do not know, but maybe there. So it's a huge, big tradition. So we are very happy that Maharaj has prepared a paper also, a copy of which will be given to every one of you. And the soft copy is also available with us, where he has given it in details. He has prepared himself, it's around 10 pages, uh, where you find Prasthanatraya Bheda. Prasthana Bheda. What is Prasthana? What is the Bheda? We'll hear him. And how it is connected. It is written by the famous contemporary of Goswami Tulsidas ji, Madhusudan Saraswati ji Maharaj, about 400 years back. So based on that, we'll hear him. So we equally look forward to that. Aritra will speak more about Maharaj, some introduction he'll give. But about the Ramakrishna Mission Kanpur, I'll just say a few words because it's a centenary celebration. All of you are welcome to the ashram. We have published a small booklet on the history of the ashram. A copy of it will be given to everyone. We also publish every year a calendar of events. This is a calendar of events. Of course, it will be ending now. I will reissue it in April. And a copy of this book, those who do not have that also. This will be available after the function. The ashram here has multiple activities. It's not very far from here. Though some of the Samiti boys come there regularly, some of them work as volunteers on special occasions, taking part in all activities, something like making, cooking in the kitchen, or cutting vegetables, or working in the temple, or serving the food to devotees when they come, etc. We are very happy that they keep coming. Earlier, they used to go with our medical van also, whenever we conduct a medical camp for the villagers. So the ashram has got a temple, and then where puja is done, a library where every day nearly 100 students come preparing for different competitive exams. Morning and evenings it's there. Then we have a small charitable dispensary. All this is running for so many years. The dispensary is running since 1938. It's quite a time. See, it has been silently doing its work. And also we have a school. It is more popularly known as RK Mission School. So that's also since 1947. That building is there since then. So all of you are welcome to the ashram. The purpose of the Ramakrishna Mission's activity is set by Swami Vivekananda, and that is Atma Mokshartham Jagat Hitaya, for one's own spiritual emancipation and for the service of mankind. So this we try to practice, we try to put into day-to-day life through various activities and also through spiritual nourishment. So we have lectures, we have pravachan, we have some pujas, that also goes on, and spiritual activity along with activities doing social good of various types. The book will give you a complete picture of that. I wish that we have such lectures, more such lectures in days to come also. On behalf of everyone, I thank Swami Vedarthananda ji and also welcome him, and we look forward to hearing him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaji. Swami Vedarthananda ji Maharaj is an acclaimed scholar in Sanskrit and holds a PhD in the Sanskrit tradition of Advaita Vedanta. He is an acharya at the Belur Mutt and has over a decade of experience in teaching Sanskrit and Indian philosophy. So, without further ado, I would welcome Swami Vedarthananda Ji Maharaj and invite him to begin today's talk.
I will go and listen to you. Thank you.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Revered Swami Vedarthananda Ji Maharaj, Vedarthananda Ji Maharaj, Namaskar to all of you, members and organizers of the Samiti, and all the students of the IIT. I consider it as a privilege to have been invited here to speak to you. I have been a teacher, but of Sanskrit language as such, and philosophy, of course, Advaita Vedanta, and such philosophical schools which are traditionally known as Sanskrit philosophical schools, because they found their expression through the medium of Sanskrit. We are going to enter into a subject which is very vast, as all of you can very easily guess. It's not a cliche to say so because it is really vast. One of my Sanskrit teachers in Vivekananda University always begin his classes by saying the subject is so vast. Almost every lecture he would begin that way. But here it is not a formality to say so, I think, because it is really a vast subject. So we will begin before we enter into what is distributed to you. I shall discuss a couple of points. I am entering the topic without much circumambulation, unwanted delay. So the first point to remember when we approach the Hindu scriptures, whatever is called Hindu scriptures, or the Dharmic scriptures, Indic scriptures, Sanskrit scriptures, the first point is they are basically Vedic scriptures, Vaidika Dharma Shastra. So this point I will clear a bit. These Hindu scriptures represent are the outcome of almost 3 or 4,000 years of literary activity in the Indian subcontinent, mostly in Sanskrit, and they contain philosophical schools, sub-schools, different phases of religious reformation, the records of such religious reformation, different updates, many things which are null and void, many things which are still practiced, many things which are partially practiced, many things which are no more taken into account, just archaic. Everything is there, nothing is blotted out. There is no iconoclasm here. Everything is there for us to go and study, and we can imagine by reading many Sanskrit books what kind of social institutions, religious institutions existed once upon a time in a bygone era. So their gnosis and praxis, both are still in our books. Also, the gnosis and practice, knowledge and practices, guidelines, etc., belonging to new institutions which came in their place. So everything is there. So it's an enormous, huge, almost like a library structure, but also surrounded by colossal wreck, things which are no more functional, only archaic. So this is the picture we have when we approach the Hindu scriptures, Hindu Dharma and its Shastras. So from this what we should derive is this. Contradictions should not baffle us. Here many things will be found contradictory because we are not talking about the Bible of one church or the constitution of a state, of a polity. That's not what we are approaching. We are approaching the record of a civilization where different groups of practitioners exist. What is holy to each of these groups, they exist. So contradictions are bound to be there. But a real practitioner doesn't find any contradiction there because what I practice is something which I receive from my Guru Parampara. What you practice is something you receive from your Guru Parampara. But we have something in common also. That is what makes all of us belong to the same civilizational ethos. So you can conceptualize it this way, something like a reverse system. Why I am elaborating on this? Because this is what holds us back when we approach Hindu scriptures. Very often, we cannot compare it with, say, Islamic scriptures or Christian scriptures, such other modern sister religions. We always expect one church to rule us in Hinduism. We don't have such an institution. We have many churches, many denominations, many religions, so to say. So we can conceptualize it like, for an example, a river system where we have a mainstream, a main stem, that's the word I hope, which originates at one place and ends in somewhere in the ocean. So the beginning and end remains the same. The source remains the same and its goal also remains the same. But it can change its course over time because of earthquake or something like that. And there are tributaries, the streams which flow into this mainstream, and also distributaries which go out of the mainstream. So when we come to Hindu Dharma, Indic traditions, which are called Vaidika Dharma, the Vedanta system is the mainstream. So the Vedas and the Vedanta Upanishads, which are part and parcel of the Vedic scripture, that is the mainstream, that is the main Ganga. And into that, different Puranic traditions and Tantric traditions, Agama traditions, many flew into, contributed. Many aspects of these traditions might have had a slightly different origin, but they somehow at some point of history, they joined with the mainstream and they were assimilated into this and became one. And again, many distributaries arose because the mainstream doesn't pass through every area. So we need channels which carry this water to the people who are away. Similarly, we have Puranic traditions and Dharma Shastras, Upavedas and Smriti Granthas, Agamas and Tantras. Many traditions which originated out of this. Different Veda Shakhas also exist. And again, some distributaries and tributaries dry up over time. So similarly here also, many traditions which once upon a time existed, which might have flourished and contributed to the Vedic Dharma, or which arose out of this, over time disappeared. But new ones also appeared, may appear in the future as well. So this is a good example, or we can have a simile for understanding how Vedic religious traditions work. To this, I will add one more point. Surprisingly, but there is a common feature, a very uncommon feature if we compare this civilization with the other ones, maybe the one existed in Greece and other places. A particular feature which is very unique to these Indic traditions. And what is that? That is, all these traditions which we are we call Hindu traditions, Sanatana traditions, they very consciously feel and loudly proclaim, admit, assert that we are the true representatives of the dharma which is enshrined in the Vedas. This all of them accept. Whether all of them are really practicing what is said in the Vedas, or whether they carry the same knowledge, exactly the same knowledge which is contained in the Vedas, that's a different question to be considered. But the fact remains that all these traditions, in one voice, say this: that we are the followers of the Vedas. They show so much of awe and respect when it comes to the Vedic religion. Vedic religion, which once upon a time, in ancient time, flourished in Punjab and its surrounding areas. To that religion, the dharma of the rishis, the knowledge which rishis got revealed in the mind of the rishis, that knowledge is held to be the most sublime, supreme, most authoritative knowledge. And the other traditions, what we call Hindu traditions, they show so much of subservience, so to say, to this original Vedic knowledge. They think that we are practicing what the Vedas enjoin. We are the knowledge that we have is the knowledge which Vedas teach. We are worshipping that God who revealed these Vedas in the mind of the rishis. This is what they believe. This is a very important article of faith for them. And that is why when we speak about the Vedic religion, Vedic traditions, we are talking about those traditions which accept Vedas as the supreme pramana, the supreme verbal testimony, and who draw their inspiration and authority from them. That's why we call them Vedic religious traditions. Shankaracharya, the great teacher of Vedanta, who almost divides Vaidika Dharma's history into two eras, he said in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashya about the authority of the Vedas. What kind of authority the Vedas hold in our religion. The same thing Sayanacharya, another commentator of the Vedas, he also repeats. He says, very interesting point. Pratyakshrenanu mityava yastupayo navidyate enam vidanti vedena tasmat vedasya vedata. He says, in empirical matters we don't need a scripture because we have our sense organs and our reasoning. Pratyaksha and anumana, both we have. It's sufficient. Why should Vedas come and tell me what is a scientific truth? Science is there. Based on observation and deduction and so induction, we can understand. But when it comes to alaukika vishaya, spiritual matters, things where an empirical means of knowledge cannot penetrate into, Atman, Karma, Punarjanma, Mukti, Samsara, many other existential problems. There I need a spiritual revelation. There I depend upon Veda. So Veda holds its pramanya, its authority, only in such matters, not in matters which pertain to empirical things. This our acharyas are very clearly demarked. This is the first point. That is, when we talk about Hindu scriptures, we are talking about those traditions which pay respect to the Vedas and who proclaim that they are the representatives of the Vedic traditions, Vedas. And the second point to remember is also important. When we study the scriptures, we should not expect that in the popular form of Hinduism is actually exactly the same thing as we find in the scriptures. No. So when we are approaching Hinduism, we have a popular form of Hinduism, the daily life of Hindus. I'm talking about the practicing Hindus. So the practicing Hindus' religious practices, the daily practices, they needn't be always derived from the proper scriptures of Hinduism. So what Hinduism had been once upon a time, has been, what it will be in the future, or what picture emerges from the Shastras, That has to stand aside when we come to the actual practices which are found right now. This popular form of Hinduism is nothing but Agama plus Vedanta. So there are agamic practices. Agama is Tantra, another name for Tantra. We have Vaishnava Agamas, Shakta Agamas, and Shaiva Agamas, and many more, based on which temples are constructed, deities are installed, the Murti Puja is performed, Vrata Anushtanas are done, Stotras are read, Havans are done, and some Smriti Granthas are also part of that. They offer some philosophy also, but mostly on temple-oriented religious practices. Pujas, different utsavas, puja parva. So these are all collectively called Agama Hindu Dharma. The Agamas also have some Vedanta philosophy ingrained in them. So this is the popular Hindu practice. When it comes to practices, Hindu practices right now in the popular religion, it is Agama practices. Temple culture. You don't find it in the Vedas. If you are going to read Rig Veda, you don't find a temple practice there. You have a household fire worship. That's what you have. So the present form of Hindu practice is Agama practice. You will find in many parts of the Indian subcontinent. No other form of Hinduism exists other than Agama. If you go to even Indonesia, the Indonesia's Hindu Dharma is called Agama Hindu Dharma. The official name itself is Agama. They may pronounce differently, maybe, but the spelling is this: Agama Hindu. This is what they call their religion. Because Agama practices went to such archipelago through Chola Empire. In India also, the popular form is Agama, because we are also temple-oriented religion we have. Also Vedanta. Why also Vedanta I say? Because Vedantic concepts have spread all over India. Some places you will find them more, some places very less. But samsara, mukti, karma, atma, paramatma, ishwar, srishti, sansar, mukti, gyan, bhakti, vairagya. These are all, these terms are found in our common religious discourse, knowingly or unknowingly. These are all Vedantic concepts. Knowingly or unknowingly, directly or indirectly, we derive many ideas from the Vedanta. They are very popular. And even when we talk about Hindu scriptures, we are talking about Vedantic scriptures. Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad, they are the supreme scriptures of the Vedanta. So tell me, what is Hindu scripture? The first thing which comes to our mind is Bhagavad Gita, which is not accepted by many other erstwhile schools. Once upon a time, whatever form of Vedanta, Hindu religion existed, they might have not bothered with Bhagavad Gita. But now we accept Bhagavad Gita as a very important scripture of Hinduism, because Vedanta rules. So Swamiji also says, whether we want or not, Hinduism is now Vedanta. So Vedantic ideas, Vedantic scriptures, Vedantic philosophy, and Agama practices together form the popular form of Hindu Dharma. Unless some other movement begins, this cannot be changed. So this is the picture right now existing. So keeping these 2 points in mind, now let's enter into the subject, what is distributed to you. So since the subject is very vast and cannot be exhaustively dealt with in 45 minutes, I have selected, with the permission of Maharaj, a small work which is not very popular either in Sanskrit, but the author is very popular, very famous. Author is very famous to any student of Sanskrit, especially Sanskrit philosophy, Madhusudana Saraswati. He is popular for mainly two works. 2 of his works are very important in our philosophical schools. One is Advaita Siddhi, which is held as his magnum opus, his masterpiece, Advaita Siddhi. Very popular work. Nobody passes Advaita Vedanta examination masters without studying some portion of that. In all universities, a selected portion of Advaita Siddhi is offered, is taught. Another is a Tika on Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita's Shankaracharya's Bhashya, has a tika. Tika means a sub-commentary, gloss on that by Madhusudana Saraswati. Its name is Vedarthananda Deepika. Both these works are very popular. And a list of these works are given. You see on the first page. Some other works are given. Advaita Rakshana, etc. And the seventh one is Prasthana Veda. From the language of the Prasthana Veda, which if continuously printed, it may come to 3 or 4 pages in A4 size. That's all. So there is concise work, simple language. So we can guess that this work was written by the Swami for new learners, because it doesn't enter much into the nuances of the subject. It just enumerates what are all the scriptures. It just divides them, defines them. Little bit of contents also are given. That's all. Just an introduction it is. So the work is a very good introduction for a person who approaches Hindu scriptures for the first time. About the author, I've written something there. He was born in 16th century, actually last half of the 15th century, and might have lived into 16th century. He was contemporary of, as Maharaj mentioned, Tulsidas Ji, Goswami Tulsidas Ji, and also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of Bengal, great Bhakti Acharya, Hari Bhakta. And he is believed to have been born in present-day Bangladesh. I forget the place, though it is disputed, but the place falls in present-day Bangladesh. He came over to, his father probably came to Nadia, district of Bengal, where Nyaya studies flourished in 15th, 16th centuries. And he was born into a Vaishnava family, and all the Vaishnavas, almost all the Vaishnavas of Nadia were Nayayikas also, logicians. They studied Nyaya, discussed logic, Indian logic, discussed in Sanskrit language. So they studied that. He also was an excellent student of Nyaya philosophy. And over time, seeing that he is a very meritorious student, the elders decided to send him to Mithila, which is now in Bihar. Mithila also was a very important place of Nyaya studies during that time. People from all over India, even from down south, scholars used to come to Mithila and Nadia to study Nyaya, logic. Basically, it is a first order logic, basic logic, but very important for those times when religious discourse used to happen through the medium of Nyaya. So nobody can present an argument unless he is well trained. He was well trained in Nyaya. Nyaya language, its Nyaya shaili, the method of Nyaya was very, very important. It's not sufficient that you know things. It is very important that you speak in the proper language. Even now it holds good, and then Nyaya was the common method of presenting your arguments and winning over a debate. For many centuries it was so. So he was trained in Mithila as well. And then it was found, excepting this eastern India, Mithila and Bengal, most of the other places of India were flooded with Vedanta during that time. Remember the timeline. Shankaracharya lived in 8th century, 788 to 820, according to most of the scholars. So already 700 plus years passed, and Advaita Vedanta was in the center stage of Indian imagination, philosophical imagination, and many opponents also began. All were Vedantas. The opponents to Shankaracharya's version of Vedanta also were Vedantas. So naturally, it is a power struggle between the Vedantas. So earlier there were Yogins and Sankhyas and Buddhists and Puravimamsakas and many other Buddhists, of course. Different shades of Buddhism existed. Now the debate is now between one version of Vedanta with the other version of Vedanta. So nobody could come up with a philosophy in India during that time without accepting the basic axiom of Vedanta. Bhagavad Gita is scripture. Upanishads are the speak about the truth. Whether I am Vaishnava or Shakta or Shaiva, whether I am I'm Advaitin, Vishishtadvaitin or Dvaitin, whether I accept one single category of truth or many categories of truth, doesn't matter. You have to derive this philosophy from the Upanishad. You have to write a commentary on the Brahma Sutras, which is the Sutra literature, the concise form of Vedanta. And Bhagavad Gita was a very important scripture. So what Bhagavan said, did Bhagavan say your philosophy or my philosophy? So these questions matter. So Eastern India could not stay aloof from this, but Eastern India realized Vedanta a little later though. So the Vaishnava philosophy of Eastern India, I mean Bengal and Odisha, Assam and Bangladesh, including Bangladesh, and some portion of Mithila, there they were mostly Vaishnavites and Nayayikas, not Vedantas. They practiced Dharma Shastras. They were Vaidikas, of course, but they discussed Nyaya over Vedanta. But they could not remain aloof for a long time. And Madhusudana Saraswati was sent to Kashi, Varanasi, to learn Vedanta. As a Purva Paksha, you have to know first the opponent's view so that you can successfully counter it. So he was selected as a good candidate, probably by the teachers, elders in Mithila, and he was sent to Varanasi. But alas, the story ended up disastrously. He studied the Purva Paksha under some sannyasin there, Vedantic sannyasin, belonging to Shankaracharya's order of Dashanami. And he liked the philosophy so much, he fell in love with Vedanta. So is this the philosophy I came to dispute? This is the philosophy which I must admit, accept. And he gave up the world and entered into the order of sannyasis. And he used his skill and training, intellect, in order to defend this philosophy. Because he knew if I may not be doing this, but later the other logicians from Mithila and Nadia may do some harm to this philosophy. So he wrote these works, excellent works on Advaita Vedanta. He was a great devotee of God. He was a bhakta. He was a Krishna bhakta. He wrote books on bhakti as well, very beautiful books. But he also defended Advaita from the opponents Advaita had during that time, mainly Dvaitins from down south, Madhva Vedantas. So he defended Advaita Vedanta against the arguments which were brought up against Advaita Vedanta. So the work is known as Advaita Siddhi. And of course many other works, including Prasthana. And there are some eulogies in praise of him. You can read that. I'm not going to read that, otherwise I cannot finish it. And regarding the treatise, which we have selected for today, very short and lucid work. So it gives a list of Hindu scriptures. Swami doesn't call them Hindu scriptures, he calls them Shastras, Astika Shastras. Astika means a person who believes that it exists, it is, Asti. One who says Asti is Astika. Asti what? Asti means is, exists, hai. Kya hai? Asti. Vedas are the pramana. Atman exists. Vedas exist as the pramana. Ishvara exists. But basically, Astika means a person who believes that Vedas exist as the supreme pramana, supreme source of spiritual knowledge. So, Astika Shastras, he calls them. And so, Prasthana stands for system. So, system means a philosophical system, a religious system, a system provided by the scripture. So, a system has to systematize our philosophy. Systematizing means a lot of questions would be brought up regarding why this world exists. Who is God? Is there a God? If there is a God, how did He create this world? Who am I? Where from we come? Where do we go? These existential questions, these philosophical questions, a set of standard questions, they have to be systematically thought about and answered. A system means a school of philosophy which addresses such questions and answers them satisfactorily, according to their satisfaction. So a system will address this question, take up these questions and address them. So Prasthana is a school of philosophy, a system of philosophy, where certain common questions regarding issues which are part of religion would be addressed and answered. So Prasthana Bheda means difference of Prasthana, variety of Prasthana which exist within the Hindu tradition. Now let's enter into the work. The first part of this book enumerates 18 systems, 18 Prasthanas. So the author begins by saying Atha Sarvesham Shastranam Bhagavatyeva Tattvarya. So this is the difference that these Prasthanas have with say the Nastika schools of Shastras. So where there is no Bhagavan, there is no one supreme God as such. Say for example Buddhist schools, they also have their system, but what differentiates those schools of philosophy from these Hindu schools of philosophy is this. These Hindu schools of philosophy believe in one supreme God. Most of them, though not all of them, Mimamsa doesn't hold that, neither Sankhya. But except in one or two, most of these schools, all the Vedantic schools of course, even yogis, and most of them, have this common feature, characteristic, that they accept one supreme God. So Shri Bhagavan, one supreme God, who created this world and entered into this world, and also who is the Niyamaka of this world, who is the ruler of this world. And in order to reveal him, the Vedas have come into being. This faith exists among all. They share this faith. All of these traditions have this as their common feature. Therefore, he begins by saying that Bhagavatyeva Tattvarya. And this is the speciality of these prasthanas. And this is very similar to what Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna said about Dharma Samanvaya also. Different schools of religions and philosophy having one goal, one God as their purport. So this similarity also. First of all, in the very beginning, this author enumerates 14 schools of philosophy. Calling them philosophy may be wrong. We can call them 14 traditions of knowledge. That would be correct translation. Chaturdasha Vidya or Chaturdasha Vidyasthanas. Now, remember this. In our times, when somebody talks about Hindu scriptures, usually he would begin by saying there are 6 schools of philosophy. So we usually enumerate Shad Darshanas. You can find that. Shad Astika Darshanas. Pura Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, and Yoga. This is how we usually look into our traditional philosophy, Hindu systems and traditions. But that is not how these ancient teachers, masters, they looked into it. Their viewpoint is this. There are 14 prasthanas, Chaturdasha Vidyasthanas. This is how they looked into the matter. This system, this viewpoint comes from Yajnavalkya Smriti, a very popular Smriti Grantha, Yajnavalkya Smriti. So Yajnavalkya says this. The shloka is very popular. I would request all of you who can memorize, 1 or 2 shlokas here you can memorize, which is very popular. He says, it is here, quoted little, almost in the middle. Purananyaya Mimamsa Dharma Shastranga Vishrita Vedasthanani Vidyanam Dharmasya cha Chaturdasha. Chaturdasha means 15. Purana Nyaya Mimamsa Dharma Shastra Anga Mishrita. Anga means Vedangas. There are 6 Vedangas. Thus we have 10. Purana, Nyaya, Mimamsa, Dharma Shastra and 6 Vedangas. 10. Veda. How many Vedas exist? 4. Thus 14. 14 Vidyasthanas. Sources of knowledge. Sources of spiritual knowledge. Systems of religious philosophy exist. This is what Yajnavalkya says. And of course, our author takes this idea and enumerates what are they. That is, they are enumerated little before that. Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda. Iti Veda Chatva, 4 Veda. Shiksha, Kalpaha, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Chandaha, Jyotisha. These are the 6 Veda Angas, auxiliary disciplines which support the Veda. Without the knowledge of Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakaranam and such 6 auxiliary disciplines, we cannot interpret, learn the Vedas. Therefore, they are called Veda Angas. And we have Purana, Puranic traditions, Nyaya, about Nyaya I've said already, Mimamsa, and Dharma Shastras. Dharma Shastras talk about our daily rituals and behavior, how a religious person must be in the society. He also brings into account, he also remembers some other traditions which are not directly mentioned here. Sankhya, Patanjala, Pashupata, Vaishnava. He says they are also included in the Dharma Shastra. He mentions that there. He says Mahabharata Ramayanayoho, Sankhya, Patanjala, Pashupata, Vaishnavana, Dharma Shastra. So Dharma Shastra is one among these 40. So all the remaining, some traditions, around 4 of them, Sankhya, Yoga, Vaishnava and Pashupata. Pashupata is Shaivite traditions. Pancharatras are Vaishnava traditions. All of them should be included under the Dharma Shastra. So thus we have 14 Vidyasthanas. To them, he adds again 4 more. They are Upavedas. They are 4 sciences actually. Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda and Arthashastra. Ayurveda is, of course, ancient traditional science of medicine. Dhanurveda is actually military science. Archery, about archery. Literally it is about archery, but it discusses about warfare and how Kshatriyas should rule and their training, warfare, winning over a war, physical training, arms training, etc. Gandharva Veda is musicology and Arthashastra is economics. So economics and politics also is discussed. So these 4 are called Upavedas. Upavedas means you can call sub-Vedas, subsidiary Vedas. That would be correct translation. So thus we have, now from 14 we have 18 Vidyasthanas, 18 sources of knowledge or 18 traditions of knowledge. So traditionally 14, to which this Acharya has added 4 more. Thus we have 18 traditions. So the title also is appropriately given as 18 systems of knowledge. Now, one by one they are taken up. So let's see, one by one. In the second part, he talks about 6 systems of Vedic scriptures. 6 systems of non-Vedic philosophical traditions. Here he gives the reason why he is not going to discuss them here. The 6 systems are 4 philosophical systems belonging to this. Madhyamikas, Yogacharas, or they are also called Vijnanavadis, optionally, Sautrantikas and Vaibhashikas. These are the 4 very important Buddhist philosophical traditions, and to them 2 more are added. One is Charvaka system, Bhautikavadis, maybe the physicists of that time. They believed only in physics, nothing more. Materialism, Charvaka. But it is given, they are respected as philosophers. They were not, they were also part of the religious discourse. They had acceptance and a very respectable position. And to that, Jains are also added. Digambaras, he calls them. And so thus we have 6 systems. 4 traditions from the Buddhist group, and Charvakas, traditional materialists, ancient materialists of India, and Jains. He says, I'm not going to discuss them here because these schools of philosophy do not accept Vedas as their pramana. So he has made his position very clear because he is going to discuss only such Indic traditions which accept Vedas as a source of knowledge. So therefore, I am not going to discuss his things. Of course, some kind of profanity existed during that time because for them, these schools of philosophy are opposed to the Vedic schools of philosophy. Naturally, he little derogatory statements also you can find there, which might have not sounded derogatory during that time. So I have not put some sentences here. I avoided that. Put a translation here. So he says they do not help. They are not going to help us in attaining purushartha, because purushartha is something which comes through the Vedas. So again we come back to that original point which I mentioned. Think about this fact. Vedic civilization existed thousands of years before this author and many others. Even Shankaracharya is considered to be a modern person. He lived in 788 to 820 AD. When did Vedas exist? Aryavarta, in the Aryavarta, which was Punjab, the original undivided Punjab. So when were the rishis who lived, in whose mind the Vedas originated? And these people are people of yesterday, right? But the awe and respect they showed to Veda is amazing. That's the fact. So we can dispute whether that awe and respect is valid or not. Whether how much of the Vedas they do practice and preach is a different question. But respect for Vedas is that is what makes them one single religious tradition. Different facets of one civilization. So the one civilizational common ethos, which all of them have, is this: Vedas are supreme. We are living, we are practicing, we are preaching, we are trying to realize what the Vedas teaches. This feeling is palpably felt and very loudly proclaimed in all these scriptures. That again you can see here. We come to the third part. So that was a clarification why he is not going into these Nastika traditions. But they found mention in the book. We come to the four Vedas. So I have given a separate sheet, attached a separate sheet where a list of available Veda shakhas are given. Yeah, because a lot of confusion you will have if you just search in the internet. You will get a lot of information. So this is a very carefully prepared list. I will tell this also. This is part of a PhD thesis which was done under my guidance. So this is a very carefully prepared list where all the available texts of Vedas, original ancient Vedas, are listed. So you can keep them for your reference. All these books are published also. Their manuscripts also exist. Most of them have translation also. But it doesn't mean that these are the only books of the Vedas. Much was lost, or maybe they may be lying somewhere in the form of manuscripts, but we do not have them. But these works are published and available. So when we come to Vedas, whatever is written here is here for your reading later reading. So let me clarify a few points and go forward. One point is, first, basic structure of the Veda is to be understood. That may be a little confusing for a new learner. So you can think this way. Primarily, all the Vedas have three kinds of mantras. So think this way, all the Vedas have mantras only. Whatever is in the Vedas is mantra, nothing but mantra. This mantra can be either a Rig mantra, just the name of the mantra, of a nature of. I can categorize these mantras of belonging to any Veda, any Vedic text, given in the list. This may be called Rig or Yaju or Sama. Atharva word doesn't come here. Either it will be in the nature of Rig, means it may be a verse, a metrical verse. It may have a meter. Meter is understood. Chando Baddha Vakya. So it may have feet in the verse form. syllables can be counted, a proper pattern would be there. That is called Rig. Rig is defined that by Jaimini. The second is Yaju. Yaju is just the opposite. Just Gadya, prose. There is no metrical rule there. It is just prose. Any number of syllables could be there. There is no such hard and fast rule. You cannot even sing them. Neither you can chant. You can chant, of course, but you can chant in a fashion how you read out a prose, English prose. There is no music there. It is not set to. It is not composed in the music. It is not set to notes. Neither it is set to notes, nor they are chanted like a verse. Just a prose. Third one is such mantras which can be sung. 7 musical notes are used to sing them. They are called Sama. Sama Veda. So these are names of three categories to which all the mantras, all the sentences of any Veda can be divided into, categorized into. Rig, Sama and Yaju. So you take randomly any Vedic book. The mantras can be, a particular mantra can be either Rig or Yaju or Sama. This is one division. Second, you can also divide it into 4 books. What are they? Maybe I can tell another way first. You can also divide them into mantra and brahmana. This is another division. Take any Vedic book. It can be divided. That's the division the author gives here. Mantra and brahmana. Mantra brahmanayor Vedanamatheyam. That's another traditional way of looking into Veda. You take a Vedic book. One portion of this Veda will be called mantra. Here mantra means praises of the deities. Another is mantra means the such verses which are uttered in a ritual, ritually uttered verses. Another portion, which would be a larger portion of the Veda, that is called Brahmana, which is interpretatory nature, which would be almost like a manual, ritual manual, where it asks me how to perform a ritual. So one portion is actually praises of the different gods and goddesses. It should be uttered as part of the ritual. Another is telling me how to perform the ritual, arrange a ritual, how to perform a ceremony. This is Brahmana. Brahmana in New Testament. So Vedic book can be divided into a mantra portion and a Brahmana portion. This can be there even in an Upanishad. You can take Taittiriya Upanishad, for example, in popular Upanishad. Shankaracharya there in Brahmananda, one portion of that particular Upanishad says, here is a mantra, and then he says the rest is Brahmana. A new student may be baffled. He may think, this is Upanishad. Upanishad is different from mantra, which is Samhita and Brahmana. How can mantra and Brahmana division occur within the Upanishad? This may be a question. Because Bhashikara, Shankaracharya is going by the traditional concept where any portion of the Veda may be mantra and its explanatory statement. Mantra is an aphorism-like concise statement, which may be remembered and kept in mind for any spiritual activity, maybe a ritual or maybe a spiritual activity, a meditation. It may be chanted, it may be remembered, japa may be done. The other portion is its explanation. So this is mantra brahmana division, which the author here follows. The third one is fourfold division, which is very popular. I think most of you may know that. Samhita or mantra, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishad. This is another form of dividing the Veda. So we can take a Veda Grantha. One portion will be mantra. It is alternatively called Samhita. Another is Brahmana, which is of course explanation of the rituals, etc. Another is Aranyaka. Aranyaka is mostly about different meditations and upasanas, etc. Mental upasanas. The other is more philosophical ones, which is the fundamental text based on which Vedantic philosophy comes out. That is Upanishad, very popular portion of Veda, but very small portion, but very important. That is fourfold division. So we can take a Veda Grantha and have applied these three viewpoints. We can divide any mantra into three kind of mantras, Rig, Sama, Yajur. Or we can have mantra Brahmana division, a broad division. And there is still more specific division, 4 division. Not over. There are 4 Vedic books. That is different. So now, so far I said generally about any Veda Grantha. Now, how many Veda books exist? Or then books I can say compilations. We have 4 compilations. Rig Veda is a compilation of Rig mantras. We originally said there are many mantras which are Rig in nature. Most of the Rig mantras were collected famously by Vyasa, Krishna Dvaipayana, who is called Veda Vyasa, who divided the Vedas. You might have heard this. Veda Vyasa is called by that name because he did Vyasa of the Veda. Vedon ka Vyasa unhone kiya. Vyasa means division. So he divided the Vedas. Means Vedas were studied, were revealed to the rishis in different traditions. They were studied and utilized throughout the different parts of North India. He went around and collected them. He found, oh, these are all Rig mantras. Some Rig mantras he might have got from Punjab, some from Gujarat, some from maybe Afghanistan, etc. Maybe some from the Gangetic Valley. And so he collected all the Rig mantra without paying heed to where from he collected, which timeline they were revealed, etc. They were collected together into one book. That is now known as Rig Veda. So in the Rig Veda, we call it Rig Veda not because that what is in Rig Veda is only Rig. In Yajur Veda also we can have Rig. In Sama Veda also we can have Rig. Remember the first division. Rig Veda is called by that name because this compilation, this book contains mostly Rig mantras which are categorized as Rig. Sama Veda is a compilation where most of the mantras can be sung. Sama mantras. But there are Rig mantras also. You may be surprised to know most of 99% of the Sama Vedas mantras are Rig mantras. The difference is the mantras in the Rig Veda cannot be sung. They are not set to tune. But the same mantras arranged differently in the Sama Veda. They are set to music. This is the difference. So they are called Sama. And there are Yajur Veda because most of the mantras there are Yajur. Means they do not have any meter. They are not, it's not prosodical in nature. But they do contain some Rig mantras also. It means Yajur Veda contains some verses which have meter. Yajur Veda also has some mantras which are Sama, means which can be sung. This also should be. Another 4th compilation is called Atharva Veda because they do not have a direct usage in the Yajna, but they are used for different other Shantika Paushtika karmas, it's called, some Abhichara Kriyas, etc. And for ringing rains and praising kings, etc. Certainly they have, most of the mantras are very popular though. They are sung, they are chanted in order to, when we begin a program, we can chant in order to remove the obstacles, etc. Many prayers are there. Yajur Veda, it's called, it's called Atharva Veda. The Atharva Veda contains the same 3 kinds of mantras. Some Atharva Veda mantras are Rig, some are Yajur, some are Sama. That is called Atharva Veda because it's a different compilation. This is the 4th point. Now, the last point in this under this particular head to remember is 4 compilations, 4 books exist, but they have different recensions. Shakha. So recension is an English word which is used for translating Shakha, but Shakha's literal meaning is branch. So we said Veda Vyasa has compiled Rig Veda, where most of the Rig mantras are brought together and made into one book. He taught it to one of his disciples, Paila. It is given as footnote on page number 4. Page number 5. So he compiled 4 Vedas and taught each of them to 4 of his disciples. These disciples taught these Vedas to their disciples. And of course, they taught to many disciples. They came from different parts of India. They went back to their areas and taught in turn. They themselves taught it to other disciples. Over time, what happened? Different versions of Rig Veda occurred. It is the same Rig Veda which Vedavyasa compiled and taught, but different, you can say different Patha Vedas, different versions came up. Such versions of Rig Veda which are authentic, which are studied and practiced famously by powerful groups of Vaidikas, they all got a kind of sanction. They are all accepted as correct versions of Rig Veda. Therefore, we call them branches of Rig Veda, shakhas of Rig Veda. So, similarly, you can conceptualize the Shakha Veda for Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda, and also Sama Veda. So, all four Vedas have their own branches. Some had thousands of branches. For example, Sama Veda had more than 1,000 branches, says Patanjali in BC. And he also says most of them are lost. In BC, he says, the author of Mahabhashya. Sahasravatma Samaveda. So here I have given you a concise picture how we look at the Vedas, how division of Vedas came into being, how various recensions and versions came into being. All are equally valuable. And the rest you can read from what is. You might have heard that Vedas are four, but this term you might have heard, Krishna Yajurveda and Shukla Yajurveda. So, I'm not said anything here because the original book doesn't say anything about that. In the list of Vedas I have given, differentiated. So, actually speaking, Vedas are five in that respect. Rig Veda, Krishna Yajurveda and Shukla Yajurveda. They should be counted as not two shaka. They are not taken to be shaka. They are taken to be two versions of Yajurveda itself. If you count them separately, you get 5 Vedas. And that is the correct version also. That's the correct way of looking at it. We do not say traditionally that Yajurveda has 2 shakas, Krishna and Shukla, we do not say. We say Shukla Yajurveda has shakas. Krishna Yajurveda has shakas. But I think maybe originally Krishna and Shukla differences were Shakha Veda, but they are not traditionally counted as Shakha Veda. They are taken to be 2 different Vedas. Just like there is Yajurveda and Sama Veda, there is Krishna Yajurveda and Shukla Yajurveda. Most of the Krishna Yajurvedans are from Karnataka and Maharashtra. Most of the North Indian people of Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Bengal, Punjab, most of the people from the Hindi-speaking areas, most of the Brahmanas, those who remember their Veda Shakas, they are Shukla Yajurvedans. Most of the Yajurvedans of South India and Western India especially, Krishna Yajurveda. The very most famous Krishna Yajurveda Shaka is Taittiriya Shaka, complete Veda Shaka, and therefore taken to be model because the communities which studied these Veda Shakas still flourish in mostly in Karnataka, etc. And therefore it is taken to be a very important Veda Shaka. So if somebody wants to study Veda Shaka, Vedas and how many books exist, texts exist, how they work, how they are utilized and applied, etc. Usually people go to Krishna Yajurveda's Taittiriya Shaka primarily because there are many people who practice even now. The Krishna Yajurvedans exist in abundance. Many of them are great scholars also, very influential scholars in India. There are many names that you didn't take. If you look into the great Vedic Pandits of India, who are acclaimed throughout the country, most of them are Krishna Yajurvedans. There are scholars from other Veda Shakas also. Most of them are not very thriving Veda Shakas, but they are also now gaining popularity. But Krishna Yajurveda is, I should say, the most important, thriving, flourishing Veda Shaka. Therefore, that is usually people study that Veda Shaka and comparing with Krishna Yajurveda's Taittiriya Shaka, other Veda Shakas are studied. Because in other Veda Shakas, some portion is missing, some texts are missing, they are incomplete. So Krishna Yajurveda is perfect, Taittiriya Shaka is perfect. It should be Purna Veda Shaka. It is accepted. Now we come to, so you can have the list there, so I am not entering into that topic further. All those works are published. So if you just search Maitrayani Samhita, you will get the book with translation. Hindi translations must be available, English also. In English translations are, famous English translations are done by Germans and different Europeans. As early as 1800s, they collected the manuscripts and edited. Whatever be their intention, they also helped in preserving these manuscripts. So our thanks to them. We have the 6 Vedantas. So 4 Vedas in general have dealt with. Now we come to 6 Vedantas. How many minutes I have? Minutes. So I will just quickly give you an introduction regarding this. Go ahead. If you have some questions. The 6 Vedantas are, as I said earlier, Shiksha, Kalpa, Nirukta, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, and Jyotisha. They are separately dealt with. See, they are called Veda Anga. Anga means limb, avayava. Sharir ka jo avayava hai, wo anga hai. Angi. I am an Angi because I have Angas. Anga Yukta. So I am made of different Angas. So if Vedas can be conceptualized a person, the personified Veda, some pictures also will get some paintings, etc. Some people hang some pictures. If Veda Purusha can be conceptualized, if Veda is in Pullinga, therefore Veda is taken to be Purusha. Shruti also is another word for Veda. Shruti is Strilinga, then Veda is considered as a mother. If Veda word you use, it is like a father. So Veda Purusha has 6 angas. He has face, he has hands, he has feet, he has his middle main body portion, abdomen, etc. So they are considered to be 6, which is divided into 6 parts. These limbs are the 6 Veda angas. So they are part and parcel of the Veda. They emerged from the Veda, they support the Vedic knowledge. So a person who has been not trained in these 6 disciplines, at least who has been not introduced into them, some basics if he doesn't know, he cannot learn and apply the Vedic knowledge, is the popular understanding. So learning Veda also means simultaneously getting trained in these 6 disciplines. Shiksha literally means studies. Shiksha literally means study, training. Even in Bengali, Shiksha means education. Shikha. So, but in Sanskrit, here, Shiksha stands for training in pronunciation, enunciation, accent, how to properly pronounce, phonology. Very often we do not give much importance. When we learn a language, we directly enter into grammar or composition, etc. We do not pay attention to how to pronounce the phonemes. Phonemes are the basic structure of any language, any knowledge for that matter. When we enter into Veda, where pronunciation matters, mantras have to be uttered and come into memory, and it's actually listening to how my teacher utters them and committing to memory and reproducing. So therefore Shiksha is taken to be the first Vedanga. Therefore the very basis of education, I think that is why in Bengal Shiksha is taken to be means education, because Shiksha traditionally in ancient India, Shiksha Vedanga, which is study of pronunciation, is the basic education, most fundamental primary phase of education. Therefore it stands for education itself. Very interesting thing. It occurred to me right now. Shiksha. So Shiksha Vedanga is about enunciation. Also, we should remember Shiksha has different branches, different kinds of Shikshas exist. The most popular book is that of Panini, Panini Shiksha. This is available. I've given a reference also here. And Pratishakyas. Pratishakhya is part of the Shiksha. Is given in Sanskrit. Pratishakhya means Pratishakha. On every Veda Shakha there is a Shiksha. Means you do not pronounce Rig Veda as you pronounce Samaveda. For example, Shukla Yajurveda, you pronounce, I'm taking one famous mantra from Sri Rudra. Om Namaste Rudra Manyava Utota Ikhave Namaha. This is how you pronounce Shukla Yajurveda. Ikhave, you write Sha. Murdhanya Shakara, you pronounce in Shukla Yajurveda Ikave. It's correct pronunciation. This is how you should pronounce Shukla Yajurveda. But when you pronounce the Krishna Yajurveda, according to Taittiriya Shakha, it is wrong pronunciation. You should pronounce, it is more fast you have to pronounce. Om Namaste Rudramanyava Udota Ishave Namaha. You pronounce this. So here Ishave is the correct pronunciation in Krishna Yajurveda. But in Shukla Yajurveda, even in South, who are trained in Krishna Yajurveda, who know that the correct pronunciation of Sha is Sha, not Kha. Pronounced when it comes to Shukla Yajurveda, Ikave. Again, Yakara, Yara, Lava, the first Ya. In Bengal, it is pronounced as Ja very often. That is the pronunciation in Shukla Yajurveda. So I doubt maybe Shukla Yajurveda pronunciation and Shiksha had great influence on Eastern Indian languages. So you do not say Yajna in Shukla Yajurveda. You say Jatnya. Jatnya. It's actually Jatnya. Also, not Jagga. Jatnya. Ya is always pronounced as Ja, like my Ja. And Sha is always pronounced as Kha. In Bihar villages, etc., I heard, rural area, Khat. There's no such Shat. That is the pronunciation. It has Vedic sanction. So things which are sometimes laughed at and cannot be given much importance, see, somehow they are connected to our roots. So that's the point. So for every Veda, there is a different science and system of pronunciation. So you cannot just learn the mantras as written. You have to get trained in its pronunciation also. The second Vedanta is Vyakarana, very important. One single science of study, without which you cannot do anything in Sanskrit is Vyakarana, because you cannot understand what is said and you cannot reproduce that. Vyakarana is the Vyakarana of both Vedic language as well as Samskrita Bhasha. See, remember, Vedic language is not Samskrita. Samskrita is classical language. Vedic language predates Sanskrit. We usually say Sanskrit of Veda, Vedic Sanskrit we say. That usage is okay if it makes sense to you. But you should remember Sanskrit is different from, Samskrita is different from Veda Bhasha. Veda Bhasha is an ancient language by which Vedas are, through which Vedas got revealed and Vedas were composed. But the language has much difference, much archaic and ancient in comparison to the classical Sanskrit language. So it is called Samskrita because it is refined by the grammar of Panini. So the language came little later.
So Krishna Yajurveda.
Yes. There are many more rules. There are many more rules. Two very important things are Sha is pronounced as Kha, Kha, the second Kha.
Right.
And Ya, Yara Lava. What do you call that in Bangla? Antosto Ja. That is Ja.
That is okay.
Both these points belong to Shukla. Krishna Yajurveda pronunciation is standard Sanskrit pronunciation. Our Sanskrit script is actually represents Krishna Yajurveda pronunciation. In Shukla Yajurveda, you don't need these two extra letters.
Right. So Ramchandra Maharaj, for example, you mostly see Ja and
Because Goswami Tulsidas also had Shukla Yajurveda as Veda.
The war also become war, right?
That in Shukla Yajurveda doesn't happen, at least according to the Shiksha, but over time it might have. But Shukla Yajurveda you have va body. Nirukta. So Vyakarana I've said, Vyakarana is a very vast subject. You have many internet material also now to learn Vyakarana. There is a huge demand also for that. Interdisciplinary subject. Take it up. Achha, the third one is Niruktam. Niruktam is practically dictionary, lexicon. So Yaskacharya's Niruktam is available, which is the earliest work in Niruktam available to us. Many other Nirukta traditions existed, all are lost. Sorry to say that, but only one particular Nirukta Grantha exists. So when we say Niruktam, we identify Niruktam as Yaskacharya's work. It is widely studied as part of linguistics because Yaskacharya selects some words from the Veda which he thought very difficult need an explanation. But for us, we need explanation for every Veda every word in the Veda. But for him, few words were sufficient. He selected them, and that is called Nikhantu. So in some Indian languages, even now, dictionary is called Nikhantu. For example, Malayalam, Nikhantu, I don't know Kannada, etc. At least in Malayalam, Nikhantu means dictionary. Malayalam Nikhantu. So, Nikhantu is the name of a list of words which need an explanation. So, a lexicon basically. And he created a Nikhantu, that is list of words from the Veda, and explained them. Explanation is called Nirukti or Nirukta. So, explanation doesn't follow grammar because grammatically derived word meaning is one. For example, Pankajam. Pankajam means Kamal. Pankajam literally grammatically means that which is born in Panka. Panka means what? Mud. Kitchen. But do you call everything which is born from the kitchen as Pankajam? Even Poka? Many things are grown in mud. But Pankajam is not only flower or plant, not every plant either. Neither every plant, a particular plant which has flowers. So this is called Rudhi. So what is dictionary meaning of Pankaj? What is the meaning, etymological meaning of Pankaja? That which is born in the Panka. But what is the dictionary meaning? The first meaning, priority won't be given to the dictionary, won't be given to the etymological meaning. Because dictionary doesn't give me the usage. Dictionary is going to guide me how I must employ them. What meaning I should take when a person uses that word. So grammar's concern is deriving the word. That is Vyakarana. Vyakarana is derivation. Vyakarana doesn't pay much attention to what meaning do you attach to that word. It has to only look into what stem, verbal stem X is what, nominal stem X is what, affixes and suffixes I have to add, what changes, elisions should occur. You just derive the word. Grammar does that. Vyakarana. Niruktam takes up a word and grammar's concerns are kept aside. Rudhi is given importance. Rudhi means usage. So Pankaja's lexical meaning is notice. And then it may give extra meaning, that which is born in one. But that is not important. So this is how you differentiate between Nirukta Shastra from Vyakarana. Vyakarana Shastra derives the word, derivation is given. But just by studying grammar, you cannot employ the word because the word may have a totally different Ashwagandha. Is the name of a plant. It may not smell like horse. You need it. And anything that smells like horse is not called Ashwagandha. So Ashwagandha's lexicon, Nirukti, is name of a particular plant. Plant's picture also is to be given, it is to be properly defined. But grammar would say Ashwasya Gandha Yasya Saha Ashwagandha or Ashwagandha. This way. But that is not sufficient for usage. Hope that's clear. And there is Chando Vivriti, prosody. So Chandas is prosody. The Pingalacharya's work is the most ancient work available. See, here one point to be noted. Pingalacharya, the prosody is basically syllables, sequences, stressed syllables and unstressed syllables, Guru Lagoons as they are called. You might have, all of us have studied Shakespeare's iambic pentameter, etc. So, prosody is there in every language. Sanskrit also has that. So, when we talk about prosody, meter, we are talking about stressed and unstressed syllable sequences. Various sequences. There are Sraddhara, Chanda. Those who are comfortable with Sanskrit stotras would know. Different Siddhanti karmasu mahatsvapi yanni yojya sambhavana gunam avehitam ishwarana. This is one way of one sequence. The other sequence is Jaya Jaya Deva Dayashilanano. There's a different sequence. Or Bhagavad Gita sequence. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Charura Martana. Eight sequences. So longer sequences, shorter sequences. Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankajam Adeva me vishatu manasa raja hamsa. This is a different sequence. So, but remember, everything has stressed and stressed sequences. So this is like negative and positive binary system. 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. Any sequence is possible. But every sequence is not practical. This is like music. You have 7 notes, actually 12 notes. 12 notes. Hertz wise, if you go, it is 12 notes. You have sa, two kinds of ra, 2 kinds of ga, 2 kinds of ma, and pa, one, and again 2 kinds of dha and 2 kinds of ni. Plus you have 12 notes. Any sequence, any combination of this is not a raga. It won't sound nice. So you have Bhairavi, Bhairav, beautiful sequences are there, beautiful ragas, Shri, many are there. So any combination of swara is not aesthetic. Only certain sequences are, certain combinations are. Human beings can enjoy certain sequences only. Similarly, the stressed and unstressed syllables, you cannot use, just create any sequence and make it a verse. It won't sound nice. It cannot be pronounced like that properly. It won't be appreciated. So it is standardized. So one point to remember, in the Pingala Chanda Shastra, he talks about what you call Fibonacci. It is universally admitted. Now, scientific community also has admitted. You can just search, you will find a number of articles you can get. It is now accepted that this sequence, for the first time, Pingalacharya described. There are books. Who else?
Narayan Pandit, I think.
But Narayan Pandit is much later.
He actually expanded.
Pingalacharya lived in DC. Narayan Pandit is in at least 500 to 600 years. And Jyotisham is planetary movements, predicting eclipses, predicting auspicious and inauspicious times. These are needed for rituals. So they came up, Jyotisham came up to support Vedic rituals primarily. That was its primary objective. But Jyotisham over time developed into, let's say, independent science altogether. It is astronomy and astrology both. It is not just predicting when a person's marriage is going to occur and such things. We have that notion, but Jyotisham has wonderful discoveries once upon a time that much of the thing may not be available in good form. But many Jyotisha granthas are available. Now a new interest has developed to study this. Jyotisha, many Jyotishis, actually the Brahmadatta, who is acclaimed as the inventor of zero, was a Jyotish. He invented it for calculating time, planetary movements, for correct prediction of eclipses. Sixth Vedanga is Kalpa. Kalpa is purely ritualistic in nature. Kalpa is actually manual of ritual. How to perform a yajna, a puja, how to set up fire, how to set up a yajna shala. But among the Kalpa Sutras, you have Shulpa Sutras. Shulpa Sutra is measurement of Vedis and new yajna Vedis to be constructed. Yajna shala is to be constructed. So measurements are to be made. Shulpa Sutra is a source of ancient geometry. Shulpa Sutras are published, studies will be published. In short, these are the Vedantas. And the rest of the things are very popular. Puranas, Upapuranas. Remember, Puranas are not just stories, they are important because there is much history also in them. You have to separate the proper historical accounts from eulogies, but they do contain history. And without a proper understanding of Puranas, we cannot interpret the Vedic Dharma either. It is very important because it is symbolic as well as it is, they teach us a lot of things. They contain, some of the Puranas are encyclopedic. Agni Purana, for example, contains practically everything, every branch of knowledge which ancient India had. Nyaya is logic, ancient logic, still studied and discussed. Nyaya flourished till 15th, 16th centuries in Mithila and Nadia, in Bihar and Bengal, and slowly declined. When Vaishnavism came up, their lack of interest for Nyaya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was a Nayayika, you read his life, but he threw the book into the Ganga and became a great Bhakta. I think with that Nyaya's story was over. He the whole Nyaya into the then Europeans arrived, so English education was introduced into the areas where Nyaya flourished, especially in Bengal. Slowly Nyaya disappeared. But even now, if you want to enter into the field of Sanskrit, Nyaya is very important. All get a little bit of training in Nyaya. Tarka Sangraha is a famous work. Very elementary book. Most of the great Nayayikas are from Mithila and Nadia. Mimamsa is of two kinds. Mimamsa is actually Mimamsa literally means hermeneutics, exegesis. Means interpretation. How do you interpret the Vedas? What the mantras mean? So all these other auxiliary sciences and subdivisions, everything exists. How do you apply them into the proper Vedic text? How do you interpret a sentence? Some sentences have to be the primary sentences. Some have to be secondary. Some should describe, some should order, some should explain, some should define. So vidhi, arthavada, different kinds of vidhis. Again, subject and predicate. That is what a sentence is. See, you cannot, even if I say one word, if you understood that, it means there is a subject and predicate. Just one word doesn't mean anything. If you think you will understand. Door, if I say, I said only door, but either you understood open the door or close the door, look at the door. Door is subject. A predicate part also, without my saying you understood. If you didn't understand, you didn't understand it. So sentence is not word. Sentence needs at least two words. One will be subject, another will be predicate. In actual usage, that's called vidheya and uddeshya. So these theories, surprisingly, these are universal truths. They're very elaborately and convincingly discussed, discovered, taught, elaborated. Opposing views were taken up and elaborated in Mimamsa. That's why Mimamsa is called Vakya Shastra, science of sentence. So Vyakarana is called Pada Shastra, science of word. Mimamsa is called Vakya Shastra. Nyaya is of course science of logic. So Mimamsa is of two kinds because Vedas have Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda. So in the fourfold division, Samhita, Brahmana and Aranyaka, they fall into the Karma Kanda. Upanishad, which is the fourth division, falls into the Jnana Kanda, which is philosophical in nature, which is the foundation of Vedas. So Vedas can be also divided into, that I didn't say there, into Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. That also is one division. Jnana Kanda is practically Vedanta. Karma Kanda is the rest of the Vedas which fall into the ceremonial ritualistic portion. The Mimamsa, interpretation of Vedic sentences falling into the Karma Kanda portion, that's called Purva Mimamsa, earlier Mimamsa. And Jnana Kanda, interpretation of Upanishads, the great Jnana Kanda Mimamsaka was Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya. Many opposing views exist, but they are all Jnana Kandis. They all concentrate on Upanishad portion. Jnana Kanda or Brahma Kanda also is the name of Jnana Kanda or Upanishad. So Jnana Kanda also has its Mimamsa or interpretation, which we popularly call Vedanta or Uttara Mimamsa. Later interpretation. When Shankaracharya, by the advent of Shankaracharya, Purva Mimamsa declined and Vedanta got momentum. That is why popular Hindu Dharma is dominantly Vedanta. So Uttara Mimamsa holds ground. These are history of our religion. So the author of this book is primarily, as you can understand, a Vedanta, an Uttara Mimamsa. So he takes up this very elaborately, some portions which. And also he discusses Dharma Shastra and 4 Upavedas, which I already said. And then some extra subjects on page number 10, Sankhya, Patanjala Yoga, Pashupata and Vaishnava, which are not found mentioned in the Yajnavalkya Smriti, but which are very important. So he mentions them also. And with some concluding remarks, think I can finish it here. I would earnestly request all of you to, of course, read once this. Maybe some typos may be there. I typed it very fast. There are some typos, but typos are typos anyway. They are pardonable. And a list of Vedas given with some notes. I would request you to preserve that, even if you throw the other one. It would be certainly a help to you. Sometime if you develop some interest in Vedas, you can use that. Thank you so much. It is 7:41.
Thank you, Maharaji. That was really a very enlightening talk. Now, we would have a short question and answer session. If anyone has any questions.
So I have a question regarding how should we approach reading Smriti and Niti Shastra. Like in this state, like I do not have a proper background regarding that, and I do not have that much time. So what should be the ideal way to approach those shastras?
That is audible. Dharma Shastras, you basically refer to Dharma Shastras, which is one system of knowledge. Dharma Shastras, many Dharma Shastras do not hold any influence over the Hindu society anymore. But nevertheless, Indian Constitution holds ground. We follow the Hindu code bill. What do you call it? Hindu civil code. And Indian civil code, of course. So it's basically there are two bills, two laws are there. Hindu Act. Practically, it is a collection of guidelines from the Smriti Shastras. So, when we follow the modern Hindu civil code or Indian civil code, there are two bills actually. One was in 56, there was one later. Both of them are based on the Smriti Shastras and Dharma Shastras. P.V. Kane has history of Dharma Shastra, which is not only about the history, it's a compendium of all that is in the Smriti Shastra in few volumes. P.V. Kane's work, for which he was awarded, you know what? Bharat Ratna. So that's the importance of Smriti Shastra. When it comes to Hindu succession, Hindu marriage, and divorce, and such, whatever social institutions we have, even see, a sannyasin a Hindu monk cannot adopt a child. A Hindu monk cannot claim property from his parents. It is in the Smriti Shastra. It is in the Yajnavalkya Smriti. It is also in Manu Smriti. Therefore, Hindu code bill or Indian civil code prohibits a Hindu monk. Now, suppose I go to court filing a suit, claiming something. I can claim from my guru, from the ashram. I cannot do that. So the court, it means, even though we are a secular country, true, but what governs, see, when we are talking about Hindu, we are talking about Buddhists, Jains also. Legally it is different. So we are following the same certain fundamental guidelines of the Smriti Shastra. Of course, some prudence is kept. Varnashrama dharma is no more practiced legally. It is not legal. Caste-based divisions are no more taken into account. Such reformation was done time and again in the history of our religion over time. Therefore, what I am saying is certain universal fundamental rules which governed Hindus earlier still hold good. So, if you want how to begin, you can see for an exhaustive study, you can go to P.V. Kane. It is given as footnote. For court proceedings, etc., how a court was conducted in ancient India, Narada Smriti is available. Yajnavalkya Smriti, see, Mitakshara and Dayabhaga, by any chance? Hindu succession is of two kinds. Is Indian law. Dayabhaga succession and Mitakshara. In Bengal and the eastern side it is Dayabhaga, rest of India it is Mitakshara. Mitakshara is a commentary on Yajnavalkya Smriti. And Dayabhaga is a different work by Jinutavahana. These are two schools of Hindu or Indian jurisprudence regarding succession and inheritance. This is also in the Smriti Shastra. So if what interests you is what still matters to us, you can read these works. Translations are available. These are very important works because they are studied by even those who practice law. And for an exhaustive study, you can go to P.V. Kane, few volumes, wonderful works, but difficult language, of course, because it pertains to law. And if you want Sanskrit books as such, you can go to the Smritis. Smritis are the best compendiums or concise compilations of the Smriti Shastra, of the Dharma Shastra. You have Yajnavalkya Smriti, Manu Smriti. Remember, all that is written in these Smritis are no more practiced by Hindus, neither in our society nor by law. But they contain sublime ideas. Very sublime ideas. Manu Smriti says the king, when you rule, remember the person in front of you is a form of God. Mahadi Devata Hesha Nararupena Krishna. He is warning the king, the emperor, who holds sovereign power in his hand, absolute power. He is warning him. You cannot treat him like your praja. Treat him like a person, even a criminal standing in front of you. When you judge him, that he in him God exists. With the Vedantic idea. So he is warning and cautioning the king. Such very sublime ideas.
Which are the two important Smritis to begin with? Yajnavalkya Smriti.
I would suggest Yajnavalkya Smriti, and if you are interested in jurisprudence, court proceedings, you can go to Narada Smriti. Narada Smriti is called, you know what? Very famous, it's called. It's a wonderful work. If you are nice to read that one. It's called, it has a name, Juridical Text Par Excellence. That's the name given to that by English translators. Because it discusses indeed how a defender should produce evidence. How can a witness can be brought? Which witnesses should be accepted and which witness should not be. Everything is in detail. It is this. Narada Smriti.
You can just narrate a little more about Upanishads also. How many are there Upanishads?
So, this particular work doesn't elaborate much on Upanishads, but Upanishads are very fundamental scriptures. Without talking about Upanishads, we cannot conclude this. Upanishads are portions of Vedas. Upanishads also are called Vedanta. Vedanta literally means Upanishad, means the Anta of Veda. Vedasya Anta. Anta means end or the best. The Sara. Anta. Anta in Sanskrit means the Nirnaya, the conclusion. So whatever is the conclusion we derive it at the end, isn't it? After discourse and discussion. So वेदों का जो अंत है, वो है उसका निर्णय. The conclusion of Veda, the supreme teaching of the Veda is Upanishad. That's how it is named. But remember, before Shankaracharya, for many thousands of years, these works remained almost in oblivion. They were always studied as part of the Veda, but they were not given what was due to them. These texts were almost neglected, but they contained excellent philosophy. Certainly they were studied. Some people took them seriously, but the main discourse among the Vaidikas, they concentrated on the ritualistic portion. But after Shankaracharya, these books were they came into again the forefront. They were interpreted. A philosophy was derived from them. 10 principal Upanishads. There are many Upanishads, more than 100, around 200 we should say, but very ancient Upanishads belonging to these particular Veda Shakas. They were specially selected by Shankaracharya. Even before Shankaracharya, his gurus, the teachers in his tradition who came before him also took them seriously. But Shankaracharya made them popular. He wrote Bhashyas, what is called Bhashya, which is commentary on these 10 Upanishads. The shloka is given on the first, on the footnote of, not a footnote, on the first page where the list of Vedas are given, you can find the shloka added. Isha Kena Kata Prashna. See, on this page, here it is. So, there are 10 principal Upanishads. Ishavasya, Kena, Katha, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taittiriya, Aitareya, Chandogya, and Brihadaranyaka. On all these 10 Upanishads, Shankaracharya commented upon and derived the Vedanta philosophy. All the works are published. And on these Upanishads, Upanishads as interpreted by Shankaracharya, the Vedanta system or philosophy stands. Now, later Acharyas who came after Shankaracharya, they were either followers of Shankaracharya or people who disputed or who questioned Shankaracharya's interpretations but accepted this Upanishad. Thus, the history of Hinduism after Shankaracharya is basically a discourse between one Vedanta and the other regarding what these Upanishads practically stand for. That's important. Sarvapriyanji Maharaj many times said in his lecture that the history of Hinduism should be divided divided into two eras, before and after Upanishads. And Bhagavad Gita is usually considered as a true representative of Upanishadic teaching, put into verses. Almost all shlokas of Bhagavad Gita can be traced back to Upanishads. That's why it's called Sarvo Upanishado Gavo Dokha Gopalanandam, the praise of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan said in Bhagavad Gita nothing but Upanishads. Incidentally, Swami also said, I have taught nothing but Upanishads.
We'll take that last.
As you have mentioned in the text also, the more familiar way of classification is the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. Do you think there are limitations to that model? Is that why we follow, we go to a much more traditional way of Swami Madhusudana?
Personally, I would prefer this model, the 14 Vidyasthana model, but everything has its plus point and minus point. Here, the merit of this division is it encompasses more. Rather, the sixfold division gives importance to darshana and doesn't see where is Dharma Shastra there. Where is Purana there? There are many traditions, many important. Where is Agama there? Many traditions which are very important to Hindus, which are still practiced, do not find any place in that division. So that division is division of only darshana, but this division is division of all that is Hindu scripture. That's the difference. But here Sankhya is not mentioned, some are not mentioned. That the author conveniently adds into some category under the Dharma Shastra. So somehow this model can be more encompassing, all encompassing than the other. That only talks about the darshana. Therefore, this is a better model. If you are talking about Hindu scriptures, but if you want to classify Hindu darshanas, that is a better.
Thank you, Maharaji. We will conclude today's session with a Shanti Mantra. I will request everyone to sit up straight. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone. If any of you want to join our meditation group, you can contact us, or you can contact us in the number given in the mail, or you can also reach out via mail to us. Thank you.
Sure.
एक मेडिटेशन सेशन का ग्रुप है और एक समिति का मेन ग्रुप भी है। एक मुझे टेक्स्ट कर दीजिएगा, मैं आपको लिंक भेज दूँगा।
यूट्यूब पे होगी कि कहाँ?
यूट्यूब पे प्रोबेबली अपलोड, वी आर नॉट वेरी श्योर।
अच्छा।